And now the last game between Tero Kokkila and Gavrilescu David. David is pretty young, born in 2003. He's not a GM, but because he's young, he's most likely going to be very soon. And he's actually rated 2500, so definitely won't take too long. And Tero is correspondence grandmaster, but in my opinion, that doesn't make you strong in openings in a practical game because basically you just don't need to know. You can always look at your database, what's the best move. You don't need to know the refutations because nobody is going to play something really shitty. And yeah, it's just if there's no need to know, most people won't. And just like in this game, you can see White was I felt like White just didn't remember what to do against the classical Sicilian. This black opening is really good against weaker opponents. I played it myself. It's not so great against masters. You can easily lose, but especially like 2000 rated players, they really don't know what to do against it. They think it's like some kind of Nidorf, but it's not really like that. And a6, it's a stopping knight b5. So black can play the next move. If there was no a6, white could play knight b5, knight d6, f4, all common. And now b4 is an idea, and e4 would hang. So usually white takes on f6. Black cannot take back with the queen because of a little tactic. e5, d takes e5, and take on b5. Queen d7 is coming, and knight c7 too. So black doesn't have too many options. And black can win a pawn, but he cannot castle. His pieces are all passive. f4 is hanging. After the white queen moves, white can play knight d6. Maybe knight c7 is coming. It's just really bad for black. So black is forced to take back with the pawn. And black is covering a lot of the key squares, but he does have a double pawn. His king usually cannot castle short because it's the g file is open. Usually it stays in the center or castles queenside, and it's definitely risky. But you know, black does have the bishop pair, and the main thing is it's not symmetrical, so you have great winning chances. Usually, if you go a bit further, usually white plays a little waiting move, you know, getting off the diagonal and the half open c file, like a very typical Sicilian move. After queen b6 here, usually white takes and even sacrifices pawn, which black usually doesn't take. Usually plays e5, stops 94, 94 ideas. Because if black takes, there's, you know, a lot of compensation there. The e file is open now, so it's risky for black because the king is still in the center. Anyway, all this didn't happen. White took some time and just took on c6, and I really think he just didn't remember what was the right move order. And if now white takes on f6, now black can take with the queen because e5 is nothing. Black can just take. There's no bishop on d7. So queen e1 was played instead. maybe with some kind of e5 ideas, but that didn't stop black from just ignoring the idea. If e5, black can just play knight e5, and if knight e4, trying to make this somehow work, black can just take, and black manages to castle first before the check arrives. So white really doesn't have anything. Black is up in development, and you know his pawns are already here, ready to attack. Maybe knight b4 is coming, you know, with some kind of knight jumps, and the bishop is well placed on c6. So instead, h4 was tried, a little peculiar move. Defending the bishop might be helpful in some variation. And b4, of course. Now it seemed like maybe the best move was e5, with the idea of just taking back here. And maybe white manages to survive. Instead, he took on f6. And this is just the worse version of the usual Richter Rouser. This h4 move didn't achieve anything. The knight is really badly placed on b1. And black immediately manages to already attack a2. This is really bad for white. And here black had maybe the easiest move to play to continue the game. Just play f5, get rid of the double pawns, open the diagonal, maybe in some cases put the bishop on f6 and attack. Instead, rook c8 was played, and white could have played the same move, f5, blocking the double pawns, like a typical positional move. Instead, all that was missed, and in general, this whole game had a lot of inaccuracies. So many, in fact, that I cannot really go over them all. Bishop e5 was like it's a tempting move. The idea is that, okay, the a file is open, so maybe I will get some kind of attack. But the problem is the black king is also weak. The bishop on e7 is not really participating in the game, just defending some pawns, and it will be difficult to attack with just the queen and the rook. And rook h3 was a good move. Queen a2 is not possible yet because b5 is hanging, so black protects first. And now white should have just played rook b3 with the idea that if queen a2, we can take on b4. So it will be difficult for black to make progress. Instead, knight d2. Black took the pawn. At least the knight is stopping queen a1 ideas. But now the rook is slightly more active on c4 than c5 because it's putting some pressure on e4. Rook d4, queen a6, all natural moves once again. Maybe queen a6 wasn't the best move, but very understandable. And king b1, too slow. And now you see why. Rook g8. If you compare the moves, king b1 and rook g8 is just so much more active. White could have done the same idea. Rook g3. This tactic is nothing because there's once again queen b5. So king b1 was an unnecessary move. And queen a7. This is a nice move, very tactical. Black would like to play king d7, but there's a little tactic. And the queen falls. So he plays queen a7 first with the idea that if white takes, black gets to take on g4. This check is nothing, and the rook is very active here, attacking all the pawns and also attacking the white king. So white didn't allow that, and he just went back to cover the first rank. But now black gets to play king d7 and activate his rook. g5, c8. Again, maybe not the best. And unfortunately, black cannot take because e5 would come with force. So black just defends the pawn. And if e5, black can play d5. So queen h5. Attacking 3 pawns. And it's impossible to defend them all. But the most important pawns are b5 and f7. And there is one move how black can defend both of them. And that is with king c6. And king c6 is surprisingly safe. Knight d4 is impossible, black can just take. Knight a5 is impossible. So it's not clear how white can attack. d6 is well covered with the bishop and the king. So rook d3 is not really attacking much. White can take on h7, but black will also get his own attack going. Instead, black played king d8 for whatever reason, and he gave up the b5 pawn. And now the black king is not as safe as before. And knight f5, the knight is coming. And now the key moment, in my opinion. But once again, there was, it wasn't clear even after the game move. But this is like quite important moment. Tero, he just took a check on b7. And I don't really know what he was thinking. The problem with the check is always that it's quite easy for the opponent to react, to make a good move. And quite often, like if things are not so clear, you shouldn't take a check. You should wait for the best moment. So here also, not queen b6, because that would also be a check. Queen a6, putting pressure on d6 and just preparing knight b7. Things are definitely not easy, like things are quite complicated. For example, after queen c7, white would have to find rook d6, black takes, this knight d6 fork, and queen c2, white just plays king a2, and b3, the rook can take. It's easy to miss the rook takes. And if king e8, getting out of the check, white can activate his rook. Yeah, definitely not easy to see, but in my opinion, this is like, it's just like taking a check and not really knowing how to continue. But interestingly, black also made, once again, another inaccuracy. King e8 was best. Instead, king c7 was played, and I think there was now maybe, was it something like knight d6 or something was possible. Let me check. Yeah, so I've got a knight takes d6. So I've got a queen a5 check. Anyway, all that was missed. And after d5, it looks like black has consolidated pretty well. Now it's like quite clear the black king is quite safe, and with the center, like now the bishop can activate finally. But there was one more chance after rook a8. A little bit of rope was given once again for white, but white missed the moment, and he just went back, and he soon lost. Instead, an endgame was possible. I wonder if he missed his idea completely. Or maybe he was just afraid that somehow the passed pawn would promote. And now knight c4. Really nice move. Coming to b6. Coming to e5. Stopping rook a5 ideas. And white survives. But yeah, knight b3 was played instead, and now the bishop is so active. f5, pretty desperate, hoping to, I don't know, hoping for some kind of magic to happen. But the bad thing is, after f5, bishop e5 is possible, and it's just game over. There's really nothing already. There's no moves. White has to give up the queen. And the game is over. Tero resigned. So yeah, that's the round. Finland got only half a point. Yeah, quite disappointing. Akopo definitely should have continued. He really might have won if he continued. Rönga had a great position. He really shouldn't have lost. I think we should have gotten at least 1.5 out of this round. So we would have still lost, but would have been better than half a point. Anyway, it's a typical Finland story. There's no success. Maybe one day. Anyway, hopefully today we will do better. Actually, I don't even know who we are playing. I will check it later. Anyway, for now, bye bye.